if you would like to make a comment about local law number 3 of 2022, please indicate by raising your hand. You can do that by going down to the reactions button, which should be on the right-hand side of the icons, and click on it and raise your hand so it shows up like that in the top left-hand corner of your screen. So I am assuming no comments from the public, as we have no indication of anyone raising their hand. One last call for the public. Comments on local law number 3. Okay. Could I get a motion to close the public hearing, please?
So moved.
Bonnie,
Second.
thank you. Is there a second? You, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed and it is 6:57. We will begin the town board meeting at 7 o'clock. I think I mentioned earlier that Councilman Boyce is going to be late. He is serving in his other capacity today as fire chief down in Florida, inspecting a proposed new fire truck for the Ancrum Fire Company. And David texted me a little while ago saying he was still in the factory and was not quite sure when he might be available, but he will join us as soon as he can. So we have about 2 minutes to go. Steve, has Elena joined us yet?
She has not.
Okay.
She just did.
Oh, there you go. A quick question while we're killing a minute or two.
Yeah.
Does anybody know what happened to the vintage post office boxes that you sent pictures around of? No,
Do not know.
that was Lynn Perella, right?
Yes.
Yeah, those are really cool. I hope we can do something with them.
Yeah.
Really beautiful.
Well, my computer is telling me it's 6:59, almost going to 7. So I think we will start this meeting in about 10 seconds. Elena, glad you could join us. It's 7 o'clock. I would like to call the April Town Board meeting of the town of Ancrum to order. Please join me for a salute to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here. And just to continue on with the local law number 3, I'd like to propose as a first order of business that we adopt that local law. It's resolution number 3 on your resolutions page. Resolved that the Ancrum Town Board adopts local law number 3 to set the annual grievance day for the town on the first Wednesday following the 4th Tuesday of May at a time to be set each year by the Board of Assessment Review. Anybody have any questions about that proposed resolution? If not, could I get a motion to adopt that resolution, please?
So
I'll make
moved.
that.
Motion.
So who was moving that? Amy, was that you?
I think it was.
And Bonnie, you were seconding?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments about this local law? If not, Monica, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Supervisor Basson,
yes.
Councilwoman Gold,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hunt,
Yes.
and Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Okay, the
It is
motion has
yes.
been adopted. Thank you very much. Recusal check. Is there anything on the agenda that any board member has to recuse on tonight? Okay, thank you.
Bye.
The first item on the agenda, approval of the minutes from the March Town Board meeting. Any questions or comments about those minutes? Monica, it's really terrific that you're getting those minutes out quickly and posted within 14 days. That's very, very, very professional. Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, Monica.
I'm sorry, Bonnie?
I said, thank you, Monica.
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes as presented, please?
Moved.
Amy, thank you. You second, thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Next item is a report from Attorney Elena DeFio-Keen on the investigation she conducted into the comments that Jack Lindsay made at our January 20th board meeting relating to incidents of disrespectful behavior. Elena, please present your report to us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here. What you have before you is the final report. It is 13 pages in length. The report, and I'm just going to highlight the beginning. This report is a result of this board directing us to investigate the allegations of disrespectful behavior towards women that relate to statements made by Mr. Jack Lindsay during a public session of the town board that was held on January 20th of this year.
Elena, could I just interject one comment to let everybody who is on the call know that the town board received a final copy of this report this afternoon by email. We have not circulated it to the community yet, but we plan to do so following tonight's conversation about this report. It'll probably be circulated tomorrow or Saturday via Ankrum email and also placed on the town website. So with that as background, I'm sorry, Elena, please go ahead.
No, that's perfectly all right, Mr. Supervisor. So as a result, we endeavored, or I endeavored to conduct this investigation. This investigation began on February 12th, and it ran until April, at which time I worked to prepare the draft. The investigation included the interview of 20 individuals. Some people were interviewed on more than one occasion. I also received, let me back up. The people that were interviewed fell into three categories. They were either one, a town employee, two, an elected official, or three, a volunteer on one or more town committees, either currently or immediately in the distant past. Members of the general public were not interviewed relative to this matter. And the basis for that was because we were trying to address concerns of how people who were volunteering and or dedicating their time to town government were being treated. So that's kind of the focus of our work. That being said, everyone that was interviewed was provided the following information. One is that this report does not sit down in detail which each individual said, rather identifies themes, identifies overall ideas that are happening. I found as a result of people not feeling like, their exact statements were going to be put into a public document, that people were very, very forthcoming. I would say that people were very generous with their time, and they took time to really give thoughtful, meaningful responses. I found everybody to be genuine and sincere that spoke to me. Sometimes it took a little bit longer than that with some people, but I found that everybody really kind of did have a chance to speak their piece, and I sincerely appreciate all the people that did that. In addition to that, I reviewed a tremendous amount of documents. We reviewed town board memos. draft board resolutions, meeting minutes, a potential code of conduct, town handbook, other policies, the code of ethics. And additionally, people were encouraged that if they had any documentation, emails, or other information that they thought were relevant to provide it to me. And several people did do that as well. So what happens as a result of all of this, I think, is what people would like to know. And obviously you'll have a chance to read the report. But here are some general findings. One is the investigation revealed that many of the items that were raised by Mr. Lindsay were events that occurred in some instances more than 10 years earlier. However, the investigation did reveal and expose, quite frankly, a perceived theme of dismissal and disrespectful treatment towards women by many of the women were interviewed, but not all, but there was a theme of many feeling that way. But what did come across, regardless of gender, is the theme that many people felt that they had either observed or felt subjected to bullying or dismissive behavior at one point or another during a public meeting. And as more discussion was had, some of it would seem to be not so much gender-based, but a general level of respect that was out there. And some of the issues were not just gender-based, but rather differences of opinions on a multitude of issues, such as personalities, educational backgrounds, political affiliations, long-standing affiliations, meaning I've lived in Ankrum this long and other people had been newer to the community, environmental focus versus building oriented. All of these different factors seem to have some impact. I'm just going to briefly highlight some of the themes that came out after speaking with these individuals. Feeling the perceived dismissive behavior during meetings, either through an individual's tone or perhaps chuckling through someone speaking. Talking over people when other people were speaking, which really left people feeling treated disrespectfully. Patterns, concerns that board members would communicate directly with committee members if a resident complaint was received. And people feeling criticized for their work or not truly valued for the work that they had. And this is just a sampling. The report is in more detail. But one of the things that came out of this was not only feeling treated disrespectfully or rudely, but many people said that they felt that they were unappreciated for their volunteer work performed. And one of the things that was pretty evident is that there were a tremendous amount of people that clearly care about the town of Ankrum and that they were giving a lot of their time and energy to make it a better place. So one of the other things that was really important and was a comment made during Mr. Lindsay's presentation in January that people felt retaliated against and they were reluctant to come forward. That was also explored in the questioning. And while there was some examples of that where the person legitimately and realistically felt that they had been subjected to that, I did not find an overall pattern of retaliation, rather some isolated incidents. And they're also documented in the report. Here are some, we also let everybody that was interviewed got an opportunity to give suggestions as to what they thought needed to occur to make things better. And the thoughtfulness of the people interviewed was really quite remarkable. And people really did give a lot of thought. And so you'll see in the report under subsection D, bulleted items of many suggestions that people provided. Some of those suggestions were taken into serious consideration as I then developed considerations and recommendations for change. There have been 25 recommendations made to the town. And I'm going to back up and say one thing. When I say recommendations, some are listed as a recommendation, such as the town should do X or Y. But many of them are things that they can consider. At the end of the day, your elected officials are more than qualified and competent to look at this report and determine what they think is in the best interest of your town. So some of these things were things to consider. Other things were things and recommended for potential change. And they fell into several different categories. One was consideration of a code of conduct or how people were going to act. And I understand there'll be some further discussion about that this evening. Another group of categories was how to establish public comment so that people would feel like they were treated respectfully. Another area was committee composition. So there was about 7 recommendations that had to do with committees. A large chunk of recommendations had to do with training. Also, communication. One of the big themes that came out of this report was that people felt that there wasn't the best communication. And when there were committees that had very good lines of communication, there seemed to be less issues of people feeling dismissed or treated rudely when they had strong, open lines of communication established. And then there was approximately 5 recommendations on policy changes or things that the town would consider. And then I have my conclusions. Before I get into that, Mr. Supervisor, do you want me to get into any more depth on the recommendations for change or just an overview, sir? You're muted.
I would suggest just an overview, but I would open it up to the town board if anyone has a different opinion and would like some more detail. I think
Yeah.
given that we're going to circulate the report to everybody in the next day or two, the details can come in during our review and everyone's review of the report.
I was going to go in just to the general conclusions, if that's okay, because for those people who may not want to read a 13-page report, this
Okay.
might kind of sum up generally where we are. So here's the conclusion. In conclusion, and I didn't get into every nuance of the report. The report is pretty detailed, but Mr. Lindsay's comments and letter read into the record on January 20th did accurately convey the feelings and sentiments of multiple females within the town that provide services to the town of Ankrum. And these feelings were genuine and sincere. There's no doubt in my mind based on those interviews. And while the comments and letters contained in Mr. Lindsay's letter did contain information that was less than accurate, and there were obviously some dispute because of the fact that there were some areas of inaccuracies, the overall tenor of the letter resulted in the exposure of concerns felt by a significant number of individuals that have dedicated true time and energy to the town government for its betterment. And although it's clear that some individuals reasonably felt dismissed and treated disrespectfully, it's also clear that the actions of many were not intended to either be rude or disrespectful or dismissive, but I think was really a result of a lack of communication. And several of the issues at hand do not appear to be gender-based, but may be driven intentionally or unintentionally by political ideology. Either way, the report resulted in something that's clearly needs to be done is to provide for better discussion. So the investigation revealed an overwhelming theme that if a member, this was something actually, and let me just back up, there was one area of the report that came out that was probably not highlighted by Mr. Lindsay, but was exposed during the investigation. And that is, there was an overwhelming theme that if a member of the community may complain, regardless of what the complaint is about, it's immediately given credence, regardless of who it is, and that there should be a slower response, that obviously public comment is very important, but things should be looked into because there very well could be a reason for the reason why things are done a certain way. And if everyone would just take a step back, I think it would be well suited, because the parties quickly attempted to be very responsive to the town residents, and at times may have created a situation of angst or anxiety for employees and volunteers, as well as members of the public. So, one of the recommendations is for a little more thoughtful and consistent approach to be utilized moving forward to ensure that resident concerns are raised and addressed, but that it's done in a consistent and clear manner that allows for employees and volunteers to be valued and recognized for all of their hard work. So I guess my last thing I would say is been doing this a very long time, and the town of Ingram should be applauded for taking the time to do this very thoughtful, in-depth review and to take it so incredibly serious. And I really believe that this is going to provide avenues for potential improvement and consideration that is unprecedented. So applause to all of you.
Well, thank you very much, Elena. Let me just ask, do any of the board members have any questions or comments for Elena to consider at this time?
No.
Amy? No?
No.
Bonnie?
Excuse me.
Not for Elena specifically, no. Thank you, Elena.
Thank you.
You?
No, no questions at this time. The key that Elena brought to us was the professional ability to ferret out facts and from those facts to draw conclusions. And I think it's up to us then to study the conclusions and the recommendations, which we certainly will do.
Yeah, because the public has not yet seen this, I don't think it's appropriate for the public to comment or ask questions, but I think we should plan on putting this report on the agenda for next month's meeting after the community has had a chance to look at it and all of us have had a chance to think about it, so we can discuss the specifics of Elena's conclusions and her recommendations and decide on a course of action. I think we all agree that Jack provided the community with a valuable service by raising this issue, as difficult as it must have been for him to do. And I think we're all going to be better for this because we will figure out a way to resolve this issue going forward. So I agree with Elena that the community is going to benefit and that we will come out of this stronger. Any other comments from the board before we move along? Amy, do you have anything more to report about the efforts you were undertaking with the policy and the committee for respectful behavior work?
Yes. I mentioned at the prior meeting that an ad hoc group had been formed, a working group to address the respectful behavior issue. We have put forth a proposal that is under review by the town board. It's a section that would be added to the town handbook if approved. Or I'm sure there's going to be edits, but when approved, will be added to the town handbook, employee handbook, and it will outline a course of action for, or what's expected from town employees, committee members and the like, and will also recommend that a committee be established that will review any complaints that come in the future, and the town board would address anything that was brought before them. But the essence of it is that there will be zero tolerance for any disrespectful behavior in any of the town meetings. What else can I say? Bonnie, what else would be in there that's important to recognize right now?
Well, the code of conduct really spells out, it's about behavior and how to behave and how not to behave in communicating with each other in boards and committee meetings. And what hasn't quite been established yet is how we'll move ahead with, if there is a complaint, how that's going to actually work with the committee, what consequences there might be. And I think ultimately it will come back to the town board for any kind of action. But I think we have a good start on it. We had a good group that got together and really worked hard on it. And we did a lot of research. And I'm really confident that we're moving in the right direction. And along with the board, I think we can finally come up with a good solution for this, and I just want to say at this point, there's been a long standing problem and it's just been sort of out there hanging around, and it's so wonderful to have it out in the open and talked about freely, and have had Elena do this investigation. And so I feel so confident and hopeful that we can move on from this, and that all these past, lingering things can be put aside finally, and that we can move ahead and all have better communications and better dealings with each other. And I'm hopeful that this new committee, whoever they might be, will be able to finish off this code of conduct and the policy that we might come up with ultimately. So
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a call for, for greater education to be given and training to be given to everybody that works on town boards or committees to better understand what's expected of them in these settings. So I think this is an important reset, and I too really look forward to much better communication moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Hugh, do you have anything to add?
Nothing further, thank you.
Okay. Elena, you are looking at the policy and the code of conduct that Amy and Bonnie have developed with their group?
I am, and I will be providing track changes for their consideration.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you.
I think we will table this matter for tonight and reopen it at the next board meeting with additional information and some specific ideas on how to move forward. So any other comments or questions before we move on?
just one more thing. Again, as you said, Art, I'd like to, I'm grateful for Jack for taking the time and the energy to finally bring this to the fore.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. Elena, thank you very much. Do you have anything that you would like to leave as last words?
I think everything's been said. If there's anything that you need, please let me know. I'm going to sign off. And if you need me at next month's meeting, just let me know and I'll put it on the calendar.
Well, thank you very much. Your report was thorough. It was fact-based, and it's going to be very, very important to the future of Ancrum. So thank you very much.
Thank you. You all have a very nice night.
You too,
Thank
Elena.
you.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Okay. Moving back to the agenda, the next item, audits. Just so the board knows, in the last month, the Financial Advisory Council has audited the town court, the building department, the planning board, and the town supervisor, and will plan to audit the tax collector and town clerk in June after the end of the 2022 tax collection season. The Financial Advisory Council used the New York State Office of Comptroller's checklist for audits, which is the practice we have done over the past few years, and found everything to be in order. And if we go to the resolutions, there are two resolutions related to the audits. The first resolution is the town court audit, which we should consider, and when approved, we will submit to the New York State Office of Court Administration. This resolution says, whereas Section 2019A of the Uniform Code Act requires that town justices annually provide their court records and dockets to their town auditing boards, and whereas the Ancrum Town Court presents its records and dockets to the Town of Ancrum Financial Advisory Council for audit on March 26, 2022, and whereas the Financial Advisory Council audited Ancrum court records and dockets and found them to be in order, therefore, it is resolved that the Ancrum Town Supervisor will notify the Office of Court Administration that this audit was performed and will send a copy of this resolution and the audit documents to the Office of Court Administration. Does anybody on the board have any questions or comments about that resolution?
What Ruth provided us last month was part of that audit, was it?
That is correct.
Yeah, okay. No, I have no questions.
Okay, so could I get a motion to adopt this resolution, please?
So moved.
Bonnie, thank you. Amy, second. Thank you. Any further questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you very much. I noticed that Philip and Carol Falsetti have their hands up. Steve, could you open up one and then the other so they can ask whatever question they have?
Okay, am I open?
Yes.
Yes,
Carol, is that you?
yes, it is me. And Steve, I would like you to use, I'm going to talk about the court outstanding fines. And Steve was the one who noticed that there was a tremendous amount of money in outstanding fines. Steve, do you remember what the number was?
Carol, I'm not sure exactly, but I want to say it was on the order of $81,000 and some change. It was a very material number.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it to the attention of the town board that it is such a material number. And if we, there is no way, the court clerk told us there was no way we could collect it unless maybe we collect it on the spot. But I thought that everybody should know about this. It was very large. And it would be-
Carol, thank you. Thank you very much for bringing that up. Just so everybody knows, Carol is a member of the Financial Advisory Council and participated in the audit of the town court. And Carol and Steve and others discovered that there was this outstanding unpaid receivable of fines that totaled $80,000. Having asked that question, we went back to the court, the Office of Court Administration, and asked them whether or not we should be capturing that amount of money on the town's books as a receivable, and the town, and should the town basically recognize that as a receivable. And the court administration people said they did not know. We should consult with our accountant. So we consulted with our accountant, and our accountant said, ask the court administration people because he doesn't know. But bottom line, because it is unlikely to be collected, it is probably not a receivable we want to put on the town's books. But the Financial Advisory Council was quite clever in finding this out. Bonnie, yes.
Do you know how far back that goes?
I don't, but I'm
Carol?
sure Ruth Whitlinger would know. It probably goes back years.
Are these traffic fines?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
Mhm.
much.
They were traffic fines.
I don't see it in the report here.
And if somebody doesn't pay, there's very little recourse. The only thing I think we can do is suspend their license, which at some point, I guess they'll do. But Carol, thank you very much for bringing that up.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Philip, did you have a question?
He dropped off.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Oh,
Thanks, Steve. Okay, so we were about to approve this resolution.
You did. You already
We
did.
Okay, thank you. Next item is the EEP, the Sheriff's Patrol, the Enhanced Enforcement Patrol. We approved last month an amount of money and a contract with the County Sheriff's Department that would allow us to schedule patrols in Ankrum on a periodic basis, but we did not decide on the schedule, and we deferred till this month the discussion of when or if we wanted to schedule this. Since last month, I've had a conversation with Jay Corcoran, who is the Ankrum Hamlet Planning Group Chair, and he recommends that we engage the county sheriff in an enhanced enforcement patrol between the Memorial Day and Labor Day, which is a 12-week period over the summer. And that we do one weekend day and one weekday day, which would basically use the $12,000 that we have allocated for this project. So I just wanted to bring that up with the town board to see if there is support for doing that schedule. And if there are any questions related to that. Hugh.
Do we need to decide tonight?
Well, we don't need to decide tonight, but if we want to schedule something for Memorial Day, which is the end of May, we need to give the
Right.
sheriff's department enough time to schedule the resources. Otherwise, there won't be any.
Right.
So I would say we have to decide tonight if we want to start on May 31st. Hugh,
What is the influence, if any, of the automated detector signs that we have acquired and put in? That they now are in place? I'm not sure whether we had them in place at this point last year. Do we know the effect they have had, or are likely to have, and therefore the need or not for the EEP?
yeah, very good question. I think the anecdotal evidence is these radar signs do have a calming effect on traffic. In Ankrum, coming into the intersection of 82 and 7, Jim has placed 2 signs, one about a quarter of a mile out of town, a permanent sign, and another at the intersection. And anecdotal evidence is this is slowing people down. But again, there's, I think, in my judgment, no substitute for a physically present patrol car and an officer. So I would be inclined to support the idea of spending the money over the summer from Memorial Day to Labor Day. We could do 2 shifts a week from the end of May to the second week in September. And I think it would have an effect in Ankrum, and we could move that deputy around to other parts of town to provide some visible presence in other areas like Ankrum Dale and on other roads in the community. I think this is an important part of the traffic management process, and I would hate to see us lose the opportunity to slow people down. Yes, sir.
One follow-up, do we have any idea of whether the deputies doing the EEP stop trucks as well as passenger vehicles?
My understanding is they will stop anybody who is speeding. Amy,
Yeah, I would be in favor of it. Particularly on, holiday weekends, I think it's very important, but on weekends in general, I think it's important. But I just like to go back for a minute to the outstanding $80,000
yes.
number that Carol brought up. How does this relate to other towns? I mean, is there a way that other towns are collecting their fines more effectively than we are? I mean, it
I have
sounds like
no
a
idea.
lot of money.
I don't know, but I could ask our court to take a look at that. But I
I'd-
just do not have an answer to that. Good
Yeah,
question.
I'd be curious. I mean, if these officers that we're employing to stop traffic are writing tickets and we're not collecting anything on it,
Yep.
and people are knowing this, it sort of loses its effectiveness.
Yes.
if
I
there's
think
no
it goes
recourse.
back quite a few years, and I don't think it's too unusual, but I don't know what their methods are of going back and trying to collect these things. I guess our judge or clerks could tell us more about that.
Yeah.
That is a big number.
I will ask Ruth if she can find out either from colleagues of hers in other towns or from the Office of Court Administration. The impression I have is this is not an unusual situation. that most towns have the same problem,
Yeah.
but we can verify that. It's a good question, Amy.
Do people get points on their licenses? I mean, does this go back to the state?
I think that is exactly what happens, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question is, does the board want me to schedule with the sheriff's department 2 shifts a week from Memorial Day through Labor Day?
My favorite.
Okay, so could I get a motion to,
Oh, I just wanted to
Authorize-
say one more thing.
Yeah.
I know David has some strong opinions on this, but I guess he's not with us yet, so. I'm okay with it. We've already budgeted for it. So I think that's the best time to use the money is the summertime.
Bonnie, I did not understand what you just said. Could you repeat
I'm sorry.
that?
I know David had some strong opinions on it. I'm sorry he's not here to weigh in on it, but I'm okay with it. I think summertime is the best time to use it,
Yep, okay.
with it.
So could I get a motion to Hugh?
I'll move that motion.
Thank you.
The motion.
The mo- Seconded. Okay, the motion is that we will schedule 2 shifts a week from Memorial Day through Labor Day. Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Steve, has David clocked in yet?
He has not.
Okay, thank you. Solar system inverters at Town Hall. Last month, we talked about the inverters operating with our solar panels. 2 of the inverters are behaving irrationally. One of them is making funny noise, which the experts tell me is a sign of the transformer failing. And one of them is intermittently giving us a red warning signal that it is not functioning. We talked last month about whether we should replace these inverters, for which we have an estimate, a cost proposal from the original installer of the system of about $7,800 to change all 5 of the inverters. I consulted with an electrical engineer at our engineering firm who confirmed that the life expectancy of these inverters is about 10 to 15 years, and we're going on year 11. He indicated that if we did nothing over the next few years, we could expect all these inverters to basically disintegrate and stop converting DC power to AC power. The practical effect will be the amount of power we achieve from the solar panels will diminish over time. David last month asked what the original cost of this system was and how much we have saved over the past 10 or 12 years. And I had circulated some stuff right after that meeting that indicated the total cost of our solar panel system at Town Hall was about $155,000, of which the town paid about 25 or 30, and NYSERDA grants paid the rest. The amount of money we've saved over the last 10 years is about $24,000 or about $2,400 a year. So if we were to replace these inverters, we would be investing another $7,800, but we would be extending the life expectancy of the system by another 10 years. I've been told by the experts that the solar panels themselves have about a 20-year life expectancy, which means we have another 10, 11 years to go. And I know that the Climate Smart Community Task Force is looking at expanding the solar footprint at Town Hall to provide more solar energy. So my sense of it is it makes sense for us to invest the additional $7,800 in order to maintain the efficiency of our solar panel system. And I would propose a resolution or a motion to allow me to go ahead and enter into that agreement with the solar system contractor. So any questions or comments about that?
Are we absolutely sure that the panels will last that much longer? The panels
Well,
themselves, I mean,
I mean,
I know
Bonnie,
it-
I'm not absolutely certain, but that's what the experts tell me.
yeah,
And also the experts tell me that if we install the new the new inverters, they will work with the next generation of solar panels.
they will.
They will, yep.
So they put that
Because
in
When you think
writing?
about it, if solar panels are going to work for another 10 or 12 years and the new inverters are going to work for the next 10 or 12 years, in 10 or 12 years, we may have to replace all of it.
Right.
Amy, did you have a question or comment?
No, I'm just wondering if they would put that in writing that they're,
Uh, Yeah. I mean,
So,
I'm just
what-
wondering if the whole new system would be a better way to go, but I don't know. I have no idea what that will cost.
But yeah, I don't think we need to replace the solar panels at this point. I think
Okay.
what we need to do to maintain an efficient solar electricity capturing system, we need to make sure our inverters are working at their maximum.
Yeah,
And I think it's important that we don't scrimp. I mean, we'll talk in a few minutes about the new air source heat pumps that are going to be living off of electricity, not propane. And
Right.
whatever efficiencies we can get from our solar panels will help reduce the cost of those air source heat pumps. So I think if we're serious about using solar and using electricity, we have to make this investment.
okay.
Say again?
I think that's okay. I would love for the climate smart task force to, be looking into upgrading the system, or they're looking into expanding it, is what you said?
Susan Flam is consulting now with solar panel installers
Okay,
to determine whether or not it makes sense to put solar panels at the town garage and
mhm,
perhaps to expand the footprint on the town hall roof. So I think these are good initiatives, but
okay,
at the town hall, if our inverters are starting to fail, we're not getting maximum throughput from the panels.
right. And with cost of electricity right now, we need all we can get,
Yep,
as you say.
exactly right. So could I get a motion to authorize me to replace the inverters at town hall, please?
So,
Thank you,
I
Bonnie.
will.
Hugh, second. Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Climate Smart Projects, I am very pleased to announce that on Monday, McCourt Heating and Cooling installed 2 Bosch air source heat pumps at Town Hall. And they did it all in one day. It was a remarkably efficient operation. I was very impressed with these folks. And Monica tells me that when she turned the thermostat up, it actually got warmer, right?
It did.
So we now have 2 air source heat pumps and 1 dual fuel unit at Town Hall. Susan Flam and I have talked about maybe we should replace the dual fuel unit with a 3rd air source heat pump, but we don't want to do that until we upgrade the electrical system at Town Hall and replace the generator, which will be this fall. That's the next stage in this process. Susan, are you out there? Susan Flam?
I don't see her there, no.
Steve, do you see Susan out there?
I went down through the whole list. Nope, she's not.
Okay. Well, Susan is working very, very hard to identify solar opportunities in the community. And as part of the Financial Advisory Council Strategic Investments Committee, she is looking at how we could perhaps use some of our surplus reserve for environmental purposes. So that's a good thing. Next item, kids camp
Hey,
in
I have
town.
one more question, Art,
Yep,
on the generator.
yes.
I noticed in the bills, we just spent $1,900 on maintenance for the existing one, and we spent $17,000 on the down payment
The $17,000 is for the new
for
generator.
the new one.
Yeah.
What was going on with the old one?
The
Just-
old one, there were some leaks coming around the base of it. And because we don't know when we're going to get the new generator, we think sometime this fall or late fall, we decided that we did not want to take any chances, and we followed the guidance of the generator company to do the maintenance.
Okay,
Yep. Good question. Thank you, Bonnie.
Art,
So the
Philip
down-
has
the down
raised his
payment
hand.
is-
I don't know if you're taking questions or not.
Yes, Philip.
Philip, he's there.
He's here.
Philip, you have a question?
There you go.
Yeah, I've asked him to unmute, so.
Yeah, he is muted. Okay, there you
Hey,
go.
hey, guys, sorry about that. Yeah, I had a question about the generator. Has anybody looked into using battery storage instead of a generator that ties into our solar power, like Tesla Powerwalls? Instead
No,
of just
nobody
staying
has
on
looked
the
at that.
fossil fuels?
Nobody
You
has
know,
looked at that. If that's something you want to look at, that would be very, very important to do.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Tesla makes Powerwalls now that obviously charge directly from your solar panels. So the solar panels would charge the batteries, and then they would, then the surplus electricity would go back to the grid like it does now. But in case of a failure, it just turns over and there's no fuel costs because those batteries will power, plenty of stuff at town hall. I think we don't really have anything big. The water pump is the biggest thing, but it'll even do that for a few days.
Well,
So that might be something to look into.
the two new air source heat pumps are the big thing now.
Those are the big things. Yeah, so I guess we'd have to just look at what they draw versus what kind
Yeah,
of capacity there
that's
is
a
in the
good idea.
battery. Yeah.
Good idea.
All right,
So-
that's all I got.
Would that be,
Okay.
would that be in lieu of a new generator or as well?
It would be in lieu of if it could
Oh.
provide, if the batteries could provide enough power.
Yep, good thing to look at. Thank you. Okay. Moving right on to the kids camp and town pool. Ruth, are you out there? Or Jen Boyce, are you out there? In case they're not, just a quick update. We have circulated the kids camp applications, and we're starting to get applications back. Excuse me. The camp will start early July. The pool will open early July, and the pool will be open through the end of August. Camp will be open for 6 weeks through the middle of August. And Ruth, Jen Boyce, and Betsy Manzi are doing a great job getting everything organized. The only question mark right now, and I hate to bring this up, Jim Miller advised me that we have a sinkhole down at Blass Field near the basketball court. The highway guys are going to go dig it up and see what's going on. But hopefully we can solve this problem over the next month and not interfere with camp. But if there are sinkholes appearing at Blass Field, that could be a cause for concern, and we may have to rethink operating the camp down there, but it's too early to make that judgment. Just a heads up. In terms of my report, financials, I think I summarized in my letter, we're in good financial shape. The question mark is over the next 6 months, given the economic situation, interest rates, inflation, oil prices, Ukraine, everything that's going on, whether or not sales tax, mortgage tax, and costs are going to get out of control. So we have to be vigilant and keep an eye on those numbers. Want to remind everybody that we have COVID supplies at Town Hall in case anybody needs it. ARPA, we just filed our required April 30th ARPA first report indicating how we plan to spend the money. And I had circulated as part of the background package an ARPA summary. Steve, do you have the ability to bring up that ARPA report?
I do. Bear with me one moment.
Okay, just so everybody can get a look at how we're planning to spend the ARPA money. That's the American Rescue Plan funding that we got. The town is going to get a total of about $153,000. We got half of that last July. We'll get the next half this coming July. And the town board has talked about it over the last year and has come up with an allocation of that money that's primarily to support Neighbors Helping Neighbors labor for food deliveries and a van for Neighbors Helping Neighbors. And we spent $30,000 on broadband for Boston Corners. Those are the major investments. There it is. Food delivery van, 40,000, delivery labor in 21 and 22. And over the 23 to 26 period, another 50,000. 30,000 for broadband in Boston Corners and $2,500 for COVID-related supplies like masks, test kits, and plastic partitions for the town. And then we have another $12,500 left for other purposes. Thank you, Steve. So that's our commitment to that's how we've committed our ARPA money. And I reported that to the Treasury Department earlier this week. About a 2-month process of figuring out how to fill out that report. It is a very challenging report, and other towns are having as much trouble as we had. But we have filed that report, which will be required annually to outline how we are spending that federal money. The other thing I wanted to bring up, that the county every year has a county summer youth program where it provides summer jobs for college age kids. I circulated this information a month ago, and then previous to that, like another month before that, have gotten no interest, primarily because the pay for that job is about $13, $14 an hour. And we pay our lifeguards and our camp counselors $16 to $18 an hour. So this is not an attractive summer job for kids. What's happened to us in the last couple of years is we haven't had anybody really interested from Ankrum. So what we do is we give that position to another town that may have somebody interested. Typically Hudson people are interested because these jobs are in Hudson. But I just want to bring up the fact that this program is not something that has been attractive to Ankrum kids. And I'll probably put out one more notice before we wrap it up and turn the position over to somebody else. Short-term rental applications and renewals. We circulated last month a reminder that short-term rental applications and renewals were due. I'll probably send out something again in the next week or two. We're trying to maintain control of that process. Hard to say whether people are complying or not. Hard to say also whether the number of short-term rentals is at the level of pre-pandemic, because the impression I'm getting is a lot of short-term rentals are going for much longer than under 30 days as people sign up to take these for a longer period of time because of the pandemic. And the final part of my report, building manager, I recommended to the board that we do not hire a building manager, that this is something that between me and Monica looks like we can probably handle, because most of the stuff that goes on is either a phone call to a local contractor to come fix something easy, or it's complicated enough to require an engineer to basically manage the process for us, so that in between building manager position does not seem that critical. If that changes, Monica or I will be the first to let you know. Next item, board members. David, has David joined the call yet?
He is not.
Okay. Hugh, do you have anything?
I'll simply mention that in most organizations, there's a period of activity followed by a period of consolidation. The Zoning Revisions Committee has been highly active through more than 80 meetings for the last couple of years. And with the consent of the crew, we're taking a break of a few weeks while we consolidate all that we have done for about the last 6 months, put together a package of further zoning amendments that will be coming to the town board in another month or so, and following up on some that we've already done. So a little break there to consolidate before we go forward.
Okay, sounds good, Hugh. Thank you. Any questions for Hugh? Amy, anything from you?
Just a couple of comments on the road salt situation.
Yes,
I was asked to look into alternatives to road salt, more environmentally friendly alternatives to road salt during the winter. And I did have a conversation with Vicki Kelly at the Cary Institute. Jamie and I contacted her. She said that many of the questions that we raised are going to be addressed in an upcoming report that the Dutchess County Environmental Management Council is working on. And they're going to provide cost-benefit analysis for using brine as an alternative to salt. In the meantime, the current Cary Institute report that we have a copy of has the most updated information. I will be talking to her again after this report comes out so that we can measure some of our requirements against the report. But she also said that Rhinebeck is using a brine solution now, and that she recommended that we get in touch with the Rhinebeck Highway Department to see how that's working out for them. And because I don't really understand all of this very well, I would recommend that Jim Miller contact the Highway Department to get the specifics.
yep, that's good. Thank you. You know, the thing that still puzzles and intrigues me is whether a 25% brine mixture, how that compares to what Jim is now doing, which is using 2/3 sand and 1/3 salt.
Yeah, I did give them
Apparently-
all of that information.
Yeah,
But she
apparently
couldn't, yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
All right, no, she just said the report that's coming out should address all of that.
Okay,
And that the questions were very valid, but she didn't
Yep.
have the answers at present.
yeah. Because my understanding is a lot of highway departments use 100% salt. But Jim and before Jim Miller, Jim MacArthur cut way back and are using that 1/3, 2/3, which seems to work for us. And the question is whether or not that is comparable to some of the more salt efficient solutions. And I guess we'll have to wait to see what they say in that report.
Yeah,
So anyway, it's a good thing to keep an eye on because it's important, and I think we want to do what we can. I've talked to Jim about it, and we, I think, agree that even if it's a little bit more expensive to do something else, if it's better for the environment, it's probably worth doing. We just have to make sure that it's going to be materially better than what we're already doing.
right. It's environmental and health concerns that
Correct.
prompted this research.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, thank you. Bonnie, anything?
Yes, I just want to talk about the, last Saturday, we had a townwide meeting having to do with the housing crisis in Ancrum and elsewhere. Is Paul on the meeting? Paul, no,
Let me, bear with me, I will tell.
Paul Ricciardi?
nope, I see Jeffrey, but anyway, okay, so.
Yep,
uh,
I'm here.
Are you there, Paul?
Yep.
Okay, so just wanted to touch base and talk about a little bit about the meeting we had. I don't know how many people were there, maybe 20 or something like that, but it was basically an informational meeting for the town to bring everybody up to speed on what we're facing as far as affordable or housing crisis. And the Economic Development Committee is kind of reforming, and we've got some new members. And I've been working on this for 2-3 years now, and there's a lot of interest in it. Every town has issues with it. Across the country, it's an issue. But anyway, it was a really good meeting. We presented a lot of data and facts and figures, and I don't know if it's up there yet, but it will be on the website, the recording of the meeting, if anybody's interested. Do you know if it's up there yet, Paul?
I haven't checked, but I was in touch with Michael the other day, and he's going to put the recording up. And we're also going to post the Columbia County housing report as well on the Economic Development Committee's page on the Town of Ancram's website.
Great. Do you have anything else to add about the meeting?
No, looking forward to what's next. Thank you.
Yeah, yes. David and I also had a meeting with Dee Dee Barrett's office, and we've met with Hillsdale and Copac, and so there's a lot of energy trying to find some solutions to this problem. So I think we have a little bit of momentum now. We have some new interest and some new members. So I'm hopeful we can get something going. And I just have one other thing I want to clarify something that's concerns me a little bit. You all remember the First Amendment audit that happened at the town hall, which was this kind of clandestine group that came in and videotaped. It was all in the newspaper. I think you were there, Monica and Jim. So anyway, I didn't know anything about this group, and I know you circulated some websites about them, but it's interesting because it's all about free speech, but a couple of people around town have related to me that for some reason that audit has been associated with me, and that I had something to do with it. It's a rumor. It's there's all this misinformation and rumor, and I just want to go on the record and say somebody started that rumor to sully my position for some reason, either whether politically or whatever. But if anybody's heard that rumor, or if you hear anybody talking about that, I don't know where that came from, but I just want to say I had nothing to do with it, and I don't know why it's out there.
Yeah, Bonnie, I'm surprised that rumor even got started, because this is a national group, and the guy who came to visit us has basically was visiting other towns in the area as part of his program, and had nothing to do with anybody in particular. So
I know that, and so someone had some ill intent in starting that rumor, and I just I think it's time to that needs to stop, and we need to just call it out when we see it and clear the air, because obviously it was an ill intent.
Yep. Okay.
I will
Thanks for
say
bringing
this
that up.
too. I knew, as I said to the newspaper, I was surprised that the guy was here, but I wasn't surprised that the guy was here. I had heard that he had been in Stanfordville. I had heard that he had been in Dutchess County. Let's face it, we're right on the border with Dutchess and Columbia County. It really didn't surprise me. We were one of the first ones that, when it came over the border, it hit.
Yeah, I had no idea. I still don't know what they actually are trying to prove. But,
Yeah, me either.
but
And
I had
it's
nothing to do
become,
with it, so
I'm
somebody put out
sure,
that rumor.
I'm sure at my conference this coming week, this next week, I have a feeling it's going to be a hot button thing, because a lot of the clerks are dealing with it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
that's all I have.
Okay. Thanks, Bonnie. Next item, Town Highway, Jim. Can we get Jim's?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
video on here?
Yep.
You
Can you
there?
hear me? Can you hear
we
me
get-
now?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes.
you. Can we see you?
No, you're not gonna see me. Nobody wants to see me.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
You might say we've had a busy month. We only had 6 days in the month of March where we did snow, and we've been very lucky so far in April. A couple nights ago, it was just to the west of us in Gallatin. They had to go out and the county had to go out in places, but we didn't, thank God. We've been getting the trucks ready for the summer work season and putting the plow equipment into storage, etc. There've been a couple very heavy wind and rain events that have brought down trees and caused some minor flooding. On that storm of April 7th and 8th, we were out running around getting trees out of the road and stuff, and I got a text and a picture of a guy up on a little dead end, a culvert pipe in the process of washing out. So we rushed up there and we kind of got it under control, and we had to do a temporary fix with another culvert pipe, take a new one up there and stuff inside the old one, or what was left of the old one. And we got the road back over again. It was one of the dead ends, so there was no waiting. That was something that had to be done right away, and we got it done. And you all know about the other large culvert that we rusted through on Old Mountain Road. The road was closed for a week. We got it back open a week ago today. The final cost on that was around $6,100 of materials, and I had to rent an excavator to install it. And while we have it, we're making use of it further up the road, removing some tree stumps and stuff and making the ditches so they'll carry the water better away from the road. I hope to begin. We did get started on the dirt roads yesterday, great a little bit. It's kind of touch and go while it's wet weather we've been having. You don't want to have them all stirred up and have it rain, you'll have nothing but a mud pit. The CHIPS money, we finally got word on the state budget. It was passed a couple days late, but we didn't receive word where our allocation was going to be until just this week. We're not getting as much as I'd hoped, but we're going to get, I think 298,000 just to tick over that for the year from the state. And I received a second quote on a sand and salt shed, capable of holding our yearly usage from Eagle Associates in Cazenovia. This quote came as $175,724, which was substantially less than the $240 I was quoted earlier from another company. The order we placed for a pickup was abruptly canceled by the manufacturer. The reason given was that because we had purchased vehicles from that port under a fleet order, and they aren't selling to fleets at this time, period. No other explanation was given. That kind of puts us back to square one in that department. The dealer's as frustrated as I am. He says they can order one under an individual's name, but not for towns. The new price has increased slightly to $52,510, which is about $800 more than the one you approved last month, or I don't know, 2 months ago, I forget. He has placed the order under my name with no obligation to take it if not approved. I think to comply with the state municipal purchase laws, we're going to have to rebid the truck. And, with your approval, we can get to approve it all over again if you choose to. Bucket truck's the same thing. There's no news on that, nothing new. And I'll be attending this year's highway school from June 6th to 8th in Ithaca. And a couple other topics. My brother, Tom, is going to be retiring at the end of next week.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
We're going to throw Bon Voyage at some point. He's going to be on the payroll until the end of May, but he's got time off coming. He's going to use it up. And he's still got about $11,000 owed to him in leave time banked up. And if we pay him off, or if I bring someone in new immediately, I'm not going to have any room for overtime at the end of the year. So I'm kind of between, I got to hold off a little bit before I can, bring somebody new in. I'm going to advertise for applications here soon, and we'll see what comes in. Get geared up to do it, and we'll decide when I can bring somebody new in. And Art's touched on the ball field earlier. I'm hoping we can just put a Band-Aid on that and get along this summer. We're going to dig it up and try to find out what's going on down there, what's causing this hole. It's right over top of a culvert pipe that runs from there's a little stream that comes behind the post office. And it goes underground under the ball field and empties out down by the pool driveway. And this hole is right here, keeps appearing right over top of that pipe. So there's something going on up there. We're gonna dig it up and try to find out what.
Okay,
I guess that's about all I.
Bonnie?
I have a question. Are any of these culverts on the recommended list for replacement?
I don't believe so.
No.
This one on Over Mountain Road, it was not. I know. And I don't believe the one on Shepherd Road was. That was something we had. It was, what happened up there was we had a beaver problem up there.
Oh,
And we screen in front of it to keep them out from building inside of the pipe. And a bunch of leaves and debris and stuff washed down and plugged the screen, and that's what caused the problem up there.
it's
But
that
the
time
one
of
on
year.
Over Mountain was,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, they're very active this year,
Mhm.
beavers.
I've seen them out there.
Yeah.
Jim, what do you want to do about the pickup? Are you gonna go out and get another bid on that and bring it back to us?
I talked to the dealer a couple days ago. He has ordered the thing under my name, but obviously I can't buy one for the town, or, I don't know how that works, but in order for the town to buy it, we're gonna have to put it out to bid again. He says if I don't take it, they're gonna put it in stock for sale, and it'll be available to us then. So,
Okay, so you're gonna put it out to bid?
well, I'll bid it again when he gets a delivery date on it, or gets close to the delivery date on it. I'll put out another bid, and we'll go from there.
Okay. And in terms of the salt shed, are you okay waiting until we get more information about the various alternatives to your 1/3, 2/3 solution?
I guess with the price of it, I'm sure it's not gonna get cheaper.
Yeah. But I think it's important that we understand whether there is a materially better way to keep the roads safe than the system you're using. If there is, we should consider it. If there's not, then makes sense to build a new salt shed, but we just don't know yet.
We're still gonna be using sand, and we gotta keep it dry, that's all.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, good.
Um, At some point, Jim, I'd like to come down and have a look at it with
Okay,
you.
sure. Anytime, let me know.
Okay, just see what we're talking about, because it's like, I don't know.
Yep,
okay.
good.
Not a
Good,
problem.
buddy.
Art,
Okay.
while we're on the subject of trucks, do you have an update on the van proposal from Jack? The neighbor's van?
Yes, that is on the list of things that didn't make the agenda. Jack has identified a Mercedes van that he recommends we consider. It is a van that has no back seat, which makes it much less expensive than a van with a back seat. It's like a $41,000 expense that Jack is asking us to consider. He recognizes that Mercedes is a sort of high-class brand, but the comparable Ford trucks and Dodge trucks or vans are in the $40,000 to $45,000 range anyway. So this is not that much more expensive, even though you're getting a much fancier brand name and, according to reputation, a much better vehicle. So Jack has a $41,000 Mercedes that he thinks he can get by the end of August if the town board supports that. And I would recommend that we do support that.
The other thing is you can't get the other vans. They're unavailable. The
Correct.
Mercedes you can actually get
Yeah.
by August. The other ones, they
The
don't
other
even-
ones are uncertain, and the Mercedes is probably a better vehicle.
Yeah.
So I would like to recommend that the board approves Jack going ahead to order this Mercedes for approximately $41,000. We had allocated $40,000 for the Neighbors Helping Neighbors van. And Jack has said that Neighbors will pay the excess above that $40,000.
He just needs a down payment, right?
He needs a $500 down payment. So if we approve this, I will write him a check next week.
I would move to go ahead with that.
Okay,
Second
thank
it.
you, Bunny. Amy, second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Excellent. Thank you very much, Bunny, for bringing that up. Okay, anything else for Jim?
I just might add on that neighbor's van. Don't you have to go through the bid process on that? You're still a municipality buying a vehicle.
Good question.
Unknown.
Yeah. I will talk to Jack about that next week and we'll figure it out. We can put a bid out for it. I don't think there's going to be much competition,
No.
but
No,
you're
it's the
right.
same thing
Jim.
with my truck, but you gotta, do all this stuff right. That's all.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly right. When we first started this process, we assumed we were going to go through Sourcewell and wouldn't have the bid, but if we're going direct, we do need to bid it. You're right.
I
Thank
looked, I was looking on Sourcewell yesterday and there's no Mercedes listed on Sourcewell. I'm sorry.
Right. Okay, thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else for Jim? Okay, moving right along, Monica.
So we had spoken last month after our visitor here about putting in a lockable Dutch door in my office. I had Bob Reed come, he measured the door. The thought was, because these are mirror images, these two offices are mirror images of each other, to do both this store and the assessor's store. He's going to get back to us with a price on them. He didn't feel that it would be more than, to do both of them would be more than 5,000. And that would be, I believe, the doors and the installation, but he has to check and see what they have at Harrington's. And he was going to get back to us on that. The
Who
other
was-
thing that
Who was that, Monica?
Bob Reed,
Okay,
he did a lot of work when we put the front doors and stuff in as well.
okay.
Yeah, Monica, while you're on this topic, let me just ask the board to approve the installation of security doors for the town clerk and the tax collector for a cost, let's just make sure we have enough money for a cost not to exceed $7,500 for both doors. That will provide the same kind of security for the town clerk and the assessor as we had for the court office, where people can come up, but they can't come in unless the clerk lets them in. So could I get a motion to approve that spending up to $7,500 for both doors? Thank you, Amy. Is there a second?
I'll second, but you misspoke a moment ago. That's the town clerk and the assessor,
assessor.
not the tax collector.
I'm sorry, the assessor, yes. Offices that face each other. So Amy made the motion. Is there a second? Hugh?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
The other thing we had thought about, Art and I had talked about, is the fact that we do have a security camera system in the building. I've talked to a couple of other towns because, like I said earlier, we are not the first by any means. Most recently, Dutchess County has been hit very hard by this. Rhinebeck put in a ring bell system where people can't get into the town hall unless they ring in and are buzzed in. I don't feel like we need anything even near to that. We do have a camera system for the court. There's a camera in the hallway just outside the court doors. There's one in the big room and there's one on the parking lot. But the only way to see what's happening on those cameras is you have to be in the court office because they have the monitor in their office. So the rest of us don't see it. So the thought was to contact the security system company and to see if it was a possibility to get maybe 2 more monitors, one for the building department and one for myself. The main issue is because of the COVID restrictions, people are asked to come in the back door and go out the front. It's a flow thing that we've had to have since we opened back up after COVID. If somebody's coming up this back hall, I don't see anybody until they're in my office. And it's a blind spot. So Art suggested maybe just find out how much it would cost to put a monitor in. It's a small little computer television type monitor. And just to get an idea.
Bonnie,
I just want to say, we have a couple of little cameras at my business, and you might want to talk to the tech people about this because they're teeny tiny, they're wireless, and you look at it on a phone or an iPad and you can see it you can carry it around, see it anywhere.
Right.
And it's anytime there's movement, you can see it, and they're really inexpensive. So
And,
that's
and
another,
it's,
it's another option for you.
yeah, for sure. I'm open to anything. I'm here tonight. I don't have great internet at home. I have 2 kids running around, a dog who has a mouth problem. So, I came out here because it's quiet and it's better. But then again, I'm here by myself. And I'm here by myself. I hate to say it to the public of everybody on this meeting, but a lot. And it's scary at times. And I think the more vigilant we are about this is the first time this has happened. From what I hear from other clerks, more down South Way towards Westchester County and stuff, once they've come once, they continue to come. And it was scary. If you watch the YouTube video and you look at the little comments on the bottom, there was some not nice things, very hostile things said. And, it just kind of raises your back a little bit and scares you.
yep,
Art, Phil has his hand up.
sorry.
Phil
Go
has
ahead.
his hand up.
Okay, let's let him in.
Hey, guys, so Monica, we'll take a look at this, the technology committee, because as Bonnie said, there's plenty of really inexpensive solutions that work really well now.
Yeah.
So Steve and Mike and I will have a look at that in the next week or so and see what we can do easily and cheaply. Plus, we still have $8.38 left out of the 150,000. So you could send that over to the tech committee.
Yep. Okay, good.
Just
Thank
want
you
us
very
all
much,
to be
Philip.
I want us to all be safe. I want us to all, those of us that are here on a daily, weekly basis, we're a great group of people, and I want to make sure that we're safe.
Yep.
We'll definitely look
just
into that.
Real quickly on the building part of it, I talked to Art about this. I think it's been about 10 years since we've had the windows in this building washed. And the grandma Rini in me is going, oh my gosh, these windows need to be washed. So I didn't know maybe if it was something you all would want to look at to maybe get done.
Yeah, I
I'll
think we
do it.
just
I'll
need to
do it.
identify. Bonnie, are you volunteering to wash the windows?
I'm pretty good at it.
Monica, I think you and I need to figure out
Yeah,
how to hire a window washing firm.
the window washing, and we had talked about just before COVID hit, George was going to have the carpet steam cleaned,
Yes,
and that never got done, and that's
Yep.
never been done, and we've been here 20 years.
yeah, we can figure out both of those things. Those are normal routine maintenance things that we ought to do. Thank you for bringing that up.
And the last thing I have is I leave Sunday afternoon. I will be back Wednesday afternoon. I go to my town clerk conference, and I'm going to learn lots of things. It looks like they've got a really packed schedule with a lot of interesting stuff on it. So I will be at the Albany Desmond. Art will have my contact information. Taking my laptop with me. I will have my cell phone. And you all know what I consider emergencies.
Monica, I don't know how we're gonna survive with you out of the,
Well,
County.
and Ruth is sick, so I'm a little,
yeah,
but we'll be
Okay.
okay.
We just may have to shut down the town hall.
You know,
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Monica?
No, thank you, Monica.
Well, look, before we get to the budget adjustments and the bills, let me refer you all to the resolutions. Resolution number 2 is something Monica can comment on. She submitted resolution, go ahead, Monica.
so we passed this local law back in 2021. And we had to wait 45 days because it was a permissive referendum, meaning that anybody in the town could take up a petition for a certain percentage of residents and bring it here, and then it would have to go to a townwide vote. Of course, that didn't happen, but because it was passed in December, the 45 minutes lapsed into January, which then turned to 2022. I sent the local law in as local law number, I think it was 4 or 5 of 2021. And the state sent it back to me and said, oh, no, we're in 2022. And I said to them, but it was passed in 2021. And they said, that's all right, but it needed to be numbered for 2022, not for 2021. So that's why you're seeing it in front of you. I did resubmit it as this local law number of 2022. And coincidentally, today, I got the paper from the Department of State saying that it has been on file. It has been filed with them, so they accepted it.
Good. So given all that, it's important that we have a resolution approving that. So the resolution is that the Ancrum Town Board revises the initial numbering of local law number 5 of 2021, which approved 2022 salary increases for certain elected officials and was adopted on December 16th, 2021, and required a 45-day period to allow for a permissive referendum, to local law number 2 of 2022. To reflect this local law will be filed with the New York State Department of State in 2022 and requires a 2022 local law number. So this is an administrative technical issue that is important that we get on the record. Could I have a motion to approve this resolution, please?
So
I'll
moved.
move.
Hugh, did you approve it or did you recommend it?
I did.
Thank you. Is there a second? Amy, thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Does that have to be a roll call?
That should be a roll call. You're right. Monica, please, a roll call vote.
Supervisor Basson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gold,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hunt,
Yes,
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Thank you all very much. The next resolution is number 4, which is a resolution acknowledging that the members of the Financial Advisory Council conducted audits of the 2021 books and records of the Building Department and Planning Board on March 26th, 2022, and the books and records of the Town Supervisor on March 30th, 2022, acting in accordance with the provisions of Town Law Section 123 and using the guidelines and checklists outlined in the Office of New York State Comptroller's January 2010 publication, Fiscal Oversight Responsibility of the Governing Board, and found in their opinion that the books and records referred to above present fairly the financial position of the audited departments of the town of Ancrum as of December 31st, 2021. Any questions or comments about that? Just an aside, I was talking with our town accountant about how much an outside audit would cost. And he said if we were to go outside to do these audits, it could cost $20,000.
Wow.
So having the Financial Advisory Council do this is a very, very good thing. I think periodically we probably should go outside, but I certainly don't want to spend $20,000 for something like this. I will start looking around for an alternative to the $20,000 audit, something hopefully in the $5,000 to $7,000 range, which is what it cost us about 7 or 8 years ago. Bonnie.
Doesn't the state do it on occasion?
Yeah, the state audits us from time to time. We got
Yeah.
audited by the state last, I think, in 2018.
Right,
but they don't audit us very often.
yeah.
Because,
So they
they've
did-
got a lot of towns and we're a relatively small town.
Yeah,
So periodically we get audited by the state, but we haven't been audited by an outside independent auditor since 2018. So it may be time next year or the year after, but I think FACT does a pretty good job. And as long as the town board is comfortable that we are managing our financial affairs rigorously and without risk, I think we can continue to do the FACT audits. But I will see if I can find an outside auditor who can come in and do this for much less than the $20,000. So we've got this resolution. Is everybody comfortable to adopt this resolution?
I will make a motion.
Thank you, Bonnie. Is there a second? Thank you, Hugh. Monica, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Basson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gold,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hunt,
Yes,
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Resolution is adopted. The last resolution is a resolution supporting the town assessor and updating the 2023 assessment roll. This is a replacement resolution for a resolution we adopted in 2019, which supported the reassessment for a 2022 revaluation. But since COVID hit and the county was forced to delay the reassessment process by a year, they have asked us to re-resolve our support for a 2023 revaluation instead of a 2022 revaluation. And New York State has also asked for this resolution. So this resolution basically says we support the town assessor in making this revaluation. Any questions about this? If not, could I get a motion to adopt this resolution, please?
Move.
Hugh, thank you very much. Is there a second?
a second.
Bonnie, thank you very much. Monica, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Basson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gold,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hunt,
Yes,
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Okay, the resolution is adopted. Thank you very much. Next item is to approve the budget adjustments, the warrants, and pay the bills. Budget adjustments this month are fairly significant, $67,000. A bulk of that relates to the Climate Smart community efforts to improve the HVAC system and to improve our electrical system and the generator. $35,000 is the approximate cost of installing the air source heat pumps, which was done on Monday. And $17,000 is the down payment on the new generator system. We have about an $8,000 allocation for attorney's fees related to the investigation, and a $7,000 allocation for communications to support the very, very sophisticated and longer version of the Ancrum Town News, plus the cost of Zoom and the cost of Constant Contact. So the total of 67.1 is well within our means, and the generator and air source heat pump funding was anticipated in the town capital plan for 2022. So while this is a lot of money, it's not unexpected, and I would appreciate a motion to approve these budget adjustments.
so moved.
Bonnie, thank you. Is there a second?
Seconded.
You and Amy, thank you both very much. Can I get a roll call vote on this? Monica, please.
Supervisor Basson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gold,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hunt,
Yes,
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Okay, the budget adjustments are approved. Now could I get, I'm sorry, Bonnie.
so I noticed that we also, this month, I think, the cybersecurity was installed. Is that true? The Edmund Tech? Yeah.
Oh,
That was done a while ago. It's just
Oh,
taking
okay.
this long for the
We're
bill
just,
to
yeah,
catch
we're
up
just
with us.
paying for that now. That's an interesting story. They basically did that installation last year, but did not bill us until earlier this year.
I
And
thought it was there already.
yeah, they had some billing problems, as does Central Hudson.
Yeah.
They finally sent us the bill this year. I asked some questions about it. And they basically said, let us look into it. And one thing led to another, and we're finally getting around to paying for it. The ongoing cost of that's going to be about $5,000 or $6,000 a year. But this was the startup year where it cost about 12 or 13,
Wow.
Wow.
because there were some fixed costs related to the installation.
So 5,000 a year to keep it going?
Yes,
I mean, I know that we need it, but
yeah. Well worth it because it gives us protection that we otherwise would not have. Mr.
yes.
Clark,
One question, how do you want to go about signing the budget adjustments since we're not physically together?
yeah, I will leave them tomorrow in the conference room or with Monica, and when you
Did you
get a
already
chance,
send them out? Did you already send them out? Did you email them to all of us?
yes,
Because I'm here. When we're done, I can just print them out and stick them in with the budget, with the bills.
okay. I mean, I'll sign them. Hugh, you can sign them tonight if Monica can print them out. And then Bonnie or Amy, if you can stop by and sign over the next couple of days. As long
Yeah.
as we get them signed at some point, we'll be good.
I should be able to get in tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
I will not, but I'll get there when I get there.
Art
Amy,
Philip
do
has,
you have a key?
No,
Okay.
Oh, Amy needs a
We
key.
better
So
get
you-
a key.
Yeah, so you're not
I'm not
gonna be able to
coming
get in tomorrow.
Well, I will
'Cause
be at town
are
hall
you-
tomorrow about 10.
I
Because-
have to look at my meeting schedule. I'm not sure that I can get there at 10.
I
Okay.
will be here 9:30 to noon, 9:30 to noon about on Saturday, and the building department will be here till 2. We can have a set of keys here for you.
Okay, or maybe I'll just arrange with Bonnie to go over when she's there if I don't get
Okay,
over
yeah,
around
I have
10.
a
Okay,
Yeah, or come over on Saturday. I mean, I'll be there from like 10 to noon on Saturday as well.
okay,
Okay,
I'll figure out a way to get there.
Good.
That would
And
be
we'll
good.
get you some keys.
Okay,
Okay, next item is to,
Art, excuse me, Phil has his hand up.
yes, Phil.
Hey, Bonnie, just to go back to your question about your questioning of the cost for the cybersecurity stuff. That
Mhm.
$5,000 a year, that $5,000 a year is not just cybersecurity. That is for the full tech support of Edmonds, which is basically replacing what the county did for us. So it's not
Oh.
$5,000 just for cybersecurity. That's for all the IT support for the town hall for the year.
Good.
Right,
Just to
Thank you,
clarify.
Phil.
Okay.
good, thank you. Okay, next item is to approve the warrants and pay the bills. Can I get a motion for that, please?
so moved.
Amy, thank you. Hugh, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. So that completes the regular agenda. Are there any comments or other issues the board would like to bring up?
No.
If not, are there any comments from any members of the public participating? All 16 of you.
Carol has her hand up.
Yes, Carol.
Carol, you got to unmute.
Let me try that. Am I
Yep.
unmuted now? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay. I have a concern that I've spoken to you about, Art. Hugh, I've written to you about it. And I feel that I have to bring it to the board and whatever public is concerned about it. And it's water. Because
Water.
of Iron Star, have become aware of the water problem in the hamlet of Anklam. I didn't really know, I kind of knew it in the back of my mind, but it didn't come to the front of my mind I have a spring that gives me 12 gallons a minute, even in a drought, so I'm okay. The Iron Star lawyer noted at one of the meetings that Iron Star, Ancrum has two aquifers. Iron Star is on the better aquifer, thank God. This is good for Iron Star, but it doesn't address the concerns of the residents of the hamlet of Ancrum that have water problems. The Ancrum Strategic Investment Committee has discussed this. That's in fact how it came to me. I've been talking with James Kennedy, and it has it on their agenda. But I think, and I'm not sure, that the feeling there is that this is a town problem and that it should be addressed by the town. I approached Hugh and Nan about this. They feel that groundwater is and aquifer is a groundwater problem, is adequately protected. I do not. It has been my experience with the planning board that the protection is only there if the planning board does due diligence. Our current knowledge and the knowledge that they have does not give any understanding as to the extent of this other aquifer, the not so good the aquifer. It's called an unconsolidated aquifer. It contains unconfined water. There isn't really a water table. That's serious stuff. This is a very delicate aquifer, and any development on that ground is liable to degrade it or even destroy it. This was mentioned in our comp plan. That's where I learned this. And that's why I got concerned. Right now, we are leaving the solution of water shortage up to individual residents. I've heard that some of them have their own little water storage system. I believe we need a town policy that specifically addresses this water shortage. We should not wait for a person or a group to plan a development and then have the current residents up in arms. That's what's happening. And that is some of the concerns of the Ancrum residents now, Ancrum Hamlet residents now about Iron Star. That's why it's come up. We need to arm our planning board with information before this occurs. We do not need to have the reputation that we are the town that has a water problem. Oh, I don't want to buy into that town. They've got a water problem. Because you know how people, it diffuses. It's not Ancrum Hamlet. It becomes Ancrum Town. And I certainly don't want to leave our Ancrum Hamlet residents to fend for themselves or anybody else who is on this unconsolidated aquifer. I believe that we need to know what condition our aquifers are in. What is the, I'm not into this, but I know there's some kind of rate that we have to know. For both aquifers, how deep are they? How much water is there? What feeds it? And what is the probable effect of future development? To do this, we need a professional, a hydraulic engineer, I believe, again, I'm very green on this, to do a specific study and make recommendations to the zoning that the zoning board can put into effect to specifically address the aquifer problem. I believe the town board needs to authorize the Conservation Advisory Council to look into this water shortage and possible future problems. Right now, we are leaving the solution of water up to individual residents. We need a town policy that specifically addresses current water shortage. Current zoning is general, but we need to specifically address, I believe, this water shortage. And so I put this out for you to consider now or in the future, but I don't think we should keep putting this off. I think we need to hire somebody to see what is there. I said my piece.
Carol, thank you very much. Any comments or thoughts about Carol's comments?
Let me just chime in. Carol brings up a good point for exploration, but Carol also does, as she tells us this concern that she has, acknowledges also that she lacks certain knowledge about this. I think we all do to some extent because it's pretty technical stuff. I would point, Carol, I am also aware, as Carol is, that when she first asked about this a couple of weeks ago, I turned to Nan Stolzenberg, and Nan gave a rather detailed reply that I think Carol alluded to. Those who are interested in this need to start by first going not only to the 2019 comp plan, but also to the 2010 comp plan. And particularly to a couple of documents that underwrite much of that 2010 plan and still the 2019, one of which is the hydrogeologic study done by Steve Winkley, which is contained within that comp plan, and which talks about the aquifers, talks about the types of rocks and soils and so on, where they are. And indeed, the comp plan contains maps of all of these. The comp plan also, both the 2010 and the 2019, talk very strongly, and the CAC will certainly, I think, support this, about protection of groundwater, as they talk about protection of our woodlines, our forests, our wetlands, and other physical features that make up our landscape. There are a couple of measures in effect, and Carol alluded to those in her expression of concern. One is the regulations that are contained in our town zoning laws, many of which not only were recommended by the CAC initially, but certainly in their refinements as recently as the last package of amendments, and including also the package that I alluded to earlier that we're putting together now, extend protections to wetlands and other aspects that ultimately result in protection of groundwater. So the regulatory aspects of the zoning law are key to that. Carol also, when she talked about individual starting points, if you will, for protection, also alluded to the secret protections. And that's where I think the dovetail comes with much of what Carol's expressing as her concerns, because it is the application of SECRA that then protects the individual project, if you will, or not the project, but the town, the people in the neighborhood, to make sure that any proposed project does not unduly affect the neighbors or certainly the town in this regard. So Carol brings up some legitimate concerns. I think that learning is the key to all of these doors to be opened, but I don't want to leave any impression that while water remains a concern for this town, many towns, particularly the quality of water, not only the quantity, that we need to learn a little bit more about what we're concerned about before we go too far down the road. And so certainly the CAC is a good place to start with that.
Thank you, Hugh. Also, my impression is the planning board will, as part of their Iron Star review, require extensive hydrological analysis to determine if there is sufficient water to support the proposed Iron Star project and not deteriorate the neighboring water supply. I have to believe that that would be a critical element in the planning board decision process. And that's probably where the next financial investment will be made to create the analysis from the experts to determine that, an answer to that question. So I think Carol's on the right track. I don't know that it's a CAC town board issue as much as it is at this point a planning board issue. But I think we'll just have to wait to see how that plays out. But Carol, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention. It is a critical issue.
I want to say again that I am mostly concerned about the development on the unconsolidated aquifer. Iron Star isn't there. This is, I believe that this is the aquifer that is giving the Ancrum residents, the Hamlet residents, the problem. I don't know. I had trouble reading the map. As you know, I came in and I tried to look at it, but I had trouble. And I really believe that that is where we need somebody to go in, and maybe we need a planning board or a town-wide education from an hydraulical engineer to come and answer our questions on this, because I think there are a lot of questions, and I think we need a professional to give us suggestions as to how our Ancrum Hamlet residents should be handling this, if they should be handling it individually, or should we be handling it as a town? And that is why I bring it to the town board. Do we handle Ancrum Hamlet's problem individually, or do they handle it individually, or does the town consider a solution to this? Because it's the unconsolidated aquifer that is the problem.
Carol, just to clarify, if Iron Star did not exist and the risk of the Iron Star development's use of water did not exist, are you suggesting the town should look into the Ancrum Hamlet water problem?
Yes, because it comes on, if I understand this correctly, if I think the Ancrum Hamlet is fed mostly by the unconsolidated Hamlet aquifer. And that is the one that is the concern, not only for the Ancrum Hamlet residents, but for any future person who wants to develop on that property. And so I think we have to look at that aquifer specifically. Iron Star is going to do a hydrological study. I was there last night. The planning board is working on that, and they think they've already done it. From my understanding is the planning board is going to ask more of them in that specific situation. But it is the more serious and delicate aquifer that I am concerned about.
Okay, so you're saying even if Iron Star did not exist, this is something that the town should consider evaluating because of the water problems that exist in the hamlet of Ancrum, irrespective of Iron Star.
Yes.
Okay, good point. Thank you. Something to think about. Okay. We're at the end of our normal agenda. Does anybody else have anything to discuss at this point?
No more public comments?
Nope, no more hands up.
Okay. So could I get a motion? Could I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Second.
Amy, thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, well, thank you all very much. It's been a very interesting meeting. And just so you know, this may not be this probably will be the last Zoom only meeting we have for a while, because hopefully by this time next month, when we do our next meeting, everybody will be healthy and the virus will not be as dramatic as it seems to be. But if in fact there are problems with COVID. It's good to know that we can do these things via Zoom effectively. Steve, thank you very much for managing this meeting.
You're welcome.
So we are adjourned, and thank you all for participating tonight. Good night.